Following his re-election in 2019, Jokowi translate the concept of Wasatat Islam into Indonesian real politics by introducing religious moderasi beragama. Being a state affair, the led state project has sparked a phenomenon of religious regimentation in which the state and certain religious groups seems to form a political religious alliance under the banner of moderation, has been orchestrated to mainstream and translate ethical values and norms of national commitment, tolerance, anti-violence, and friendly to local tradition. Alhamdulillah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Thank you very much for having invited me to this international conference on religious moderation. I am Andar Nubowo, an Executive Director of MAARIF Institute for Culture and Humanity, a think tank and Islamic NGO based in Jakarta, founded by Almarhum Buya Ahmad Syafi Ma'arif, the former chairman of Muhammadiyah. MAARIF concern is promoting moderate progressive Islam relevant to pluralistic Indonesia and global community. And today, I am genuinely delighted to be part of this international conference on religious moderation 2024. And on this great occasion, I would like to convey my reflexive opinion on religious moderation, ethics, and justice from socio-historical considerations. Well, since the last two decades, actually, the Muslim world has been confronted by violent extremism and radicalism, conflicts and wars, Islamophobia, the regression of democracy, and climate change. And in response to this, particularly to the violent extremism and radicalism, Muslim scholars and leaders held, organized several Islamic international conferences on Wasatat Islam, such as in Amman in 2004, in Mecca 2005, and in Topkapi, Turkey in 2006. And they declared that Wasatat Islam is norms and ethics to cope, to quell these odds and crises. This high call for Wasatat Islam inspired mainstream Islamic organizations in Indonesia, such as Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and the Indonesian Council Ulama, MUI, and also the Indonesian government to commit publicly Islamic moderation in their ways. Respectively, for example, Muhammadiyah with Islam Berkemajuan, Islam with Progress, NU Islam Nusantara, and MUI with Islam Wasatiyah, and also in 2019, the Jokowi government adopted the concept of Wasatiyat Islam. The concept of Wasatat Islam actually essentially rooted in the Quranic terms ummatan wasaton, Al-Baqarah 148, wa kadzalika ja'alnakum ummatan wasata litakunu syuhada'a 'alan nas wa litakuna rasulun 'alaikum syahida. And Prophet saying khairul umuri awsatuha, actually this term has made Muslim scholars and also thinkers comprehend the significant meaning of al-adlu wal khiyaru, justice and excellence, as to primary prerequisites of the establishment of justly balanced community or ummatan wasaton as a witness to all humankind. In this vein, scholars agree that such Islamic ethics can be translated into all fabric of life to pursue the summum bonum, the public good and justice. In that sense, Wasatiyat Islam cannot be disassociated from enacting public morality and justice. Reflecting on this through socio-historical consideration raises pivotal questions about institutionalizing moderation ethics as a foundation for justice. If positively correlated, how can Islamic moderation become guiding reference for public morality and policymaking? Conversely, if not, under what condition may, for example, moderasi beragama, religious moderation, foster injustice, unethical norms, and policies. This discussion highlights scholarly discourse on the inclusion of religion in global causes. Fox and Sandler, for example, argue that religion should be incorporated in quelling humanitarian crises. Again, scholars like Bob Hefner, James Hostre, Delphine Alles, and Amanda Tosit assert that religion, exceptionally Indonesian moderate Islam, has been pivotal in sustaining Indonesia's civil liberties and shaping Indonesia's diplomacy and foreign policy. Historically, Islam has served as a source of ethics and justice for Indonesian Muslims. Under Western colonial rule, Islam became a vital force of resistance in the name of holy war, jihad. From the revolutionary time of Sultan Agung, the Padri War, the Diponegoro War, and the Banten Rebellion, ulama and Muslim took to the battlefield to expel the Western colonizer from their homeland. Although initially driven by Islamic interest, this resistance laid the foundation for a sovereign nation, evidenced by the emergence of Syarikat Islam, Muhammadiyah, Persis, and Nahdlatul Ulama during the 20th century. Islam indeed became an ethical source that motivated Muslims to join actively to pre-independence memorial events, the Youth Pledge, the Consensus of Pancasila, Proclamation of Independence, and Resolution of Jihad in 1945. However, in the post-Indonesian independence, Islam could hardly generate public ethics and morality to advance the common and public good. Instead, the Islamic community was deeply ensnared in ideological, religious, and political conflicts rooted in primordial and trivial interest. Within this context, religion has become susceptible to division, control, and cooptation by power-seeking elites. Subsequently, unethical statements like powers, such as the old order of Sukarno and the new order of Suharto, readily exploited religion to preserve its political and economic status quo. Such a Leviathan-like power, an all-consuming monster, as described by Thomas Hobbes, no longer views religion and its institution with respect, but instead ruthlessly tears them apart. Amid the distortive surge of power lust, religion could also be hijacked by short-sighted and morally bankrupt politicians, as noted by Buya Ahmad Syafi'i Ma'arif, to serve electoral interest. The post-Suharto elections are stark examples of this misuse of concept of peaceful religion. Believing that religion tends towards symbolism and often stops at mere symbolization, these politicians skillfully exploit to attract electoral sympathy, especially during and in the lead up to elections. They disregard the dangers that identity-based politics pose to democracy and national unity. For such politicians, religion is reduced to a mere collection of rules and values that can be manipulated and repurposed in a distortive manner to serve unholy, greedy, and self-serving power. After the fall of the New Order regime in 1998, Indonesia witnessed the rise of newly educated middle-class Muslims increasingly drawn to the conservative turn. Embracing a literalist lens of Islam, they ardently advocated for the implementation of Sharia in place of Pancasila and the Constitution. Confronted by Islamist opposition, particularly after the 2-1 to Islamist mobilization in Jakarta, President Joko Widodo became politically interested in managing Islam. In 2018, he officially adopted the term of Asyadat Islam. In the 2019 presidential election, Jokowi selected Ma'ruf Amin as his running mate to tackle the Prabowo Sandi pair, supported by conservative groups. Following his re-election in 2019, Jokowi translated the concept of Asyadat Islam into Indonesian real politics by introducing religious moderation, moderasi beragama. Incorporated into the 2020-2024 National Medium-Term Development Plan, the project has been orchestrated to mainstream and translate ethical values and norms of national commitment, tolerance, anti-violence, and friendly to local tradition. Being a state affair, the Let State project has sparked a phenomenon of religious regimentation, in which the state and certain religious groups seems to form a political religious alliance under the banner of moderation. This alliance aims to preserve a dominant political and religious stance amid Indonesia's diverse Islamic schools and institutions. Furthermore, this project seems to constitute the state's profound intervention into citizens' private religious spheres. The state eventually can define who is moderate and who is not. Through the fourth indicator, for instance, the state has been accused of endorsing a particular Islamic school while excluding those that differ and labeling them as a non-moderate. This could engender contestation and ideological rivalry even among moderate Islam itself. In several regions such as Biren, Aceh, and Banyuwangi, local mosques and Islamic congregations were banned, and accused of promoting non-moderate Islam. Also, Ahmadiyya and Shia have been categorized by MUI as misguided as other Islamic ideologies contrary to Fatwa MUI 25 and Taujihat MUI on Wasatat Islam in Surabaya 2015. To conclude, given the historical relationship between Islam and political power in the Republic of Indonesia, state and non-state actors such Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and MUI must recognize the importance of public ethics and morality grounded in enlightened religious understanding of all existing religions and belief and the national ideology of Pancasila and the 1945 Constitution. In this context, religious moderation should actively contribute as a source of inclusive and progressive public ethics and morality. Religious moderate institutions must reclaim their role as the nation muazzin, critiquing deviation, including those within state governance, rather than compromising with or endorsing anti-democratic public policies contrary to the public's aspiration and environmental sustainability. In Indonesia's pluralistic context, to strengthen shared public ethics and morality, religious moderation must transform into, like civil religions, functioning as political instrument for ensuring social cohesion. This would align with the synthesis of universal religious principles, prophetic messages, and also civil liberties. The institutionalization of religious moderations, universal ethics, and moral values as civil religion eventually aligns with the radicalization of Pancasila. Such an endeavor eventually requires religious moderation and Pancasila as the source of public ethics and justice across all domains: politics, law, society, religion, culture, and economy. Thus, religious moderation is not an abstract concept, but an open and objective operational system capable of addressing contemporary humanitarian crises and issues. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wow, thank you very much. A very rich discussion and also speech from our first panelist, Mr. Andar Nubowo, Ph.D. He highlight how religious moderation from the grounded theory of the ethical resources from Muslims, and it's open the understanding to learn and to reach the value of religious moderation, and how the downfall of Suharto regime also open the different understanding, the different interpretation of religious implementation within the Muslims. Muslims and non-Muslim here in Indonesia especially. And last but not least, he provides some recommendation and solution towards how he said that the religious moderation is the open and the objective concept to deal with the humanitarian issues and humanitarian tragedies that happens not only in Indonesia but also around the world.